Good afternoon, everybody. Hafa Day and welcome to the first ever Triton Athletics Hall of Fame induction ceremony, reception, and Hall of Fame basketball game. I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We really do appreciate all of the contributions that you've made to Triton Athletics. There was a dark period for a few years, but now it's back and stronger. And we're hoping that you have a great time here at this reception. It's kind of an interesting day today. First, we're going to have the reception, then we're going to have some time where each of you inductees will have a chance to speak and address all of us here in the crowd. And then during the Hall of Fame basketball game, we'll be awarding you your certificates and officially inducting you during halftime. At this time, I'd like to welcome some of our distinguished guests that are joining us this afternoon, starting first with the 10th President of the University of Guam, Dr. Robert Underwood. Our Senior Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs, Dr. Anita Borja Enriquez. Vice President for Administration and Finance, Mr. Randy Wiegand. Chief Information Officer, Mr. Romel Hidalgo. And I'd also like to recognize from the 34th Guam Legislature, the Honorable Senator Tommy Morrison, who is also one of the inductees this afternoon. So at this time, I'd like to introduce to the podium Dr. Robert Underwood for welcoming remarks.
Good afternoon, Hafa Day. Well, it's a pleasure and honor to be here in front of you, especially for the inductees. You know, I'm not much of an athlete myself, so this is one element in which I'm totally out of my element, I suppose, you know. I think I played second base in the softball league when I was in the 7th grade, and that was it. That was pretty much it. But you know, the path of athletics and its relationship to a university and an institution is something that is almost taken for granted in other places. And we've had that kind of relationship over the years at times, but it was always kind of uneven, you know. So I always tell people, yeah, I want to join the NC2A, you know. I want to join one of those leagues in the NC2A, but everybody has to agree that we get to play all our games at home. And then they have to come here and they have to play within 24 hours of landing. And so that way we can be assured of no matter what the sport is, there'll be a pretty groggy team. And we did get an offer a few years ago. But you know, there's a small league that UOG Hilo plays in. And a couple of small, I think Cal Lutheran, or a couple of small colleges in California and small colleges in Arizona playing. But you know, it was cost prohibitive and it was just not something that we could seriously entertain. Yet there's nothing more engaging than cheering for an athletic team. We used to have foam fingers, you know, for sale over at the bookstore. And it had that, you know, we're number one. We're number one. Who's number two? We're number one at what? What are we number one at? Who's number two and who's number three? It was kind of an odd feeling, you know. And then we thought about, because, you know, I started working here at the university in 1977. Then we thought about actually the teams that played there, like John and the Tritons and Tommy Morrison and the baseball team. And we thought about that and we said, well, you know, those were pretty exciting days. Those were very exciting. People were spirited and animated and they came out and they just felt, and why can't we recapture that? And how are we going to begin anew this relationship? So the first thing we had to do, of course, was to conceptualize an athletic program, and we had to go out and hire an athletic director, Doug Palmer, who will be coming up next. But Doug came up with the best suggestion of all. He goes, let's honor the previous athletes. Let's take the time to kind of honor the tradition that we had at one time, so that we can use that to build the tradition that we're starting now. So, you know, we've started a couple of soccer teams and, of course, men's basketball team and a volleyball team. And we're anxious to get going. Doug tells me we're going to go into baseball sooner or later. I'm not sure when, but, you know, whenever the time's appropriate. But I'll leave those decisions to him. But the point is that nothing identifies school spirit any more than an athletic team. And I thought about that when I was watching the Ohio State game this morning. That was like, you know, I hate Ohio State, but, you know, I was rooting for them because they were just so far behind. They were so far behind. I couldn't imagine how they were going to get, how to win the game, but it was just something that was pretty exciting. And, you know, you generate that emotion, you generate that attachment, you generate that goodwill on the basis of, you know, people who can run fast and catch balls and who can throw and have endurance, all the things that I can't do. So that's why we're here this afternoon. So really appreciate you turning out. Of course, this is just the first of many events. This is not you know, we're just starting the athletic program. I think we can say legitimately we're into about a year and a half of it. And so as we kind of mature our offerings and as we build our network, of course, we're counting on you and we're counting on all of you, particularly the inductees, to kind of spread the word, to help us kind of recapture that spirit that the university had in those days. So on behalf of the University of Guam Foundation, we want to thank you for being here. We want to congratulate you for being inducted. We want to hear, you know, your worst and best story about your athletic career here at UOG. No, just hear the best story. Yeah, because the worst story is probably about how the university didn't support you adequately. So we're hoping that doesn't happen anymore. But we're certainly eager to get this process going. And as we like to say nowadays in UOG, Viva UOG! Viva. Thank you.
I'd also like to introduce Brianne Dunstan from the University of Guam Endowment Foundation. Had a big part in helping set up this Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Now I'd like to welcome to the stage the man with a plan, Mr. Doug Palmer.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, Dr. Underwood. I get to basically tear this in half since we're a little bit behind time. But I would like to say a few words. The reason I'm starting a Hall of Fame, I've been at 2 other universities. I started Hall of Fames there, and they became really successful situations that really helped the athletic department, really helped the university. Basically, you've got to have a history. If you don't have a history, you don't have anything for the most part. It's hard to build a basketball team when you don't keep your history. Well, we 13-0 or 11-0 right now. Won the GBA championship. That's something you can build on this island. And as Dr. Underwood was saying about Ohio State, why is their football team very good? They got a history of being very good at football. Why is Alabama so good? They have a history of being very good. I hate Alabama, but they have a history of being very good. I'm a Florida State alum, so don't really like Alabama. But that's one of the biggest reasons. You got to have a history. When I arrived here, there was no history. Tell me there were some boxes laying in my office that maybe had it, but it all disappeared. And now I have no history. I don't know who won a game here besides what I can go find in the library. But that was one of the biggest reasons I wanted to start it. You got to have a history, and that makes you accountable. We had great basketball back in the 60s and 70s. That makes you accountable in the 2000s because you had a great program there. You just have to kind of get that message out there. The reason I kind of started the Hall of Fame, I wanted to make it a diverse thing where we do football, but we also do women's basketball, we're doing baseball. I know there's women's volleyball out there. I'm sure we got paddling somewhere out there. I'm sure we got co-ed volleyball on the beach somewhere out there. I just got to find those things. We want to make sure that we put folks in who are right national team members. Biggest problem here, the athletics in the past didn't keep records. We have national team records. We probably can go find those type of things. Graduation's not going to be required because the rules were different. And this is one of those questions I get very often. But back in the past, I hear about, especially for football, there used to be a football class. You had to take 3 credits to play a sport here. They had a football class. But then they finally decided just to throw that away. And you could just play football and represent it, which at that time period was fine. But I have a feeling that probably eventually led to sports getting dropped because the school really didn't necessarily want to support people that were not students at UOG. It's much easier to go to the student government and ask, for money or support if they are supporting students. If they're supporting the guys who are working, for Guam, 30 years old, they probably don't want to really support that. So that's why we're now full-time students, making certain grades that have to play. We will put teams in eventually. We have an undefeated football team. Eventually we will put that team in. It will be a special event. I will not try to do something like this and do a football team at the same time. And hopefully we've got a lot more people here for a football event, but trying to find 35, 40 guys, find coaches, find whoever from 30 years ago will take 6 months probably or more. I've found some basketball teams. I've even found a basketball player from one of my former schools on death row in Florida. I can't find some folks, but sometimes not all of them you're going to invite back. Or can invite back. Stark, Florida was a little bit farther away. We couldn't really invite those folks. But what we are going to do for you, I keep reminding my bosses that when we do get that new student center built and financial aid and the admissions department registrar moves out, there's eventually going to be a Hall of Fame room in this building. Hopefully it's going to be a conference room, Hall of Fame room, booster room, ever how many different titles I can put on it, but we will have a Hall of Fame room. So that's the ultimate plan. My best quick story about Hall of Fames. I started the Hall of Fame, or I restarted the Hall of Fame at the University of West Florida. I worked there for 20 years. They had dropped all athletics as well at one point. Didn't last as long as it lasted here, but they did drop all athletics. When they dropped all athletics, the men's basketball team had flown to Kansas City to play the NAIA National Basketball Tournament for the very first time. First time anybody in West Florida had made a national tournament. They got off that plane and got told all athletics have been dropped. Your team has been dropped. We decided on the first class we were going to put in the Hall of Fame. We were going to put that basketball team back into the Hall of Fame. Biggest problem was none of them would come. If the coach won't come, we're not going to come. I called the coach. Coach wouldn't talk to me. Wife would talk to me. Coach would not talk to me, so I was working in between. Kept calling. We even advertised they're coming. On the Friday before the Saturday we're going to put them in, wife called me, he's coming. So then I had to go and call all the other folks and get the basketball team there. Some of these guys were the best business people in Pensacola, Florida. My former wife actually worked for one of the biggest marketing firms in Pensacola that one of the gentlemen worked for. It was several of them became our best boosters. So I am going to start a booster club, and I am going to ask all you guys to get money. But a lot of them became boosters. Eventually, from the basketball team, became boosters for the new basketball team we'd started. So you can do very positive things, even when you run into really big problems. We finally convinced the coach that new president, new athletic director, new everything. This is a different athletic department that happened 20 years ago. So that's my best Hall of Fame story. We had to sweat to the last minute. Right quick, the last thing I want to talk about is UOG athletics right now. I didn't jinx them the other night at Triton, but UOG athletics for the fall of 2017 so far is undefeated. And I mean everybody. So we're all to a good start. Women's volleyball was 8-0 in the college league. They won that for the second time. Men's basketball right now is 11-0. And that's more than we won the first 3 or 4 seasons that we played. They're playing the MVPs tonight. I didn't choose a softie for them to play this game in. But they are 11-0 right now. They've won one tournament already. They've done a great job. Biggest problem is we're no longer the nice losers. We're the folks who don't like to lose and they have a little bit of an attitude. We're now maybe the most hated team on the island. We go from being the nicest team on the island to the most hated team on the island. But that's what happens when you win. Not everybody likes you. Men's soccer is 2-0. They're just getting started. Women's soccer is 1-0. It's actually a big day for us. Basketball plays. Women's soccer plays at 5:15. They play the team that they played in the finals of the championship in the Division II league last year. And our men's soccer plays tonight. So, and if we get to 25-0 today, I'm going to make a big deal out of it. Try to make a bigger deal out of it, which probably means somebody's going to lose, and somebody's going to lose anyway. But the Hall of Fame is very important at any institution that you're at. It will be very important in the future. Like I said, this will happen every year. I can already tell you probably half of the next Hall of Fame. As soon as I published the first Hall of Fame, I started getting the feedback coming back. Well, this guy should have been there. This girl should have been there. So I already probably have next year's Hall of Fame almost done now. But we will get everybody eventually. It may take 20 years. But we're going to have a class every year, somewhere between 5 and 10 people. We will put in teams, and that probably will be special events. But we're going to keep the Hall of Fame going. We're going to do the best we can to identify the folks who really deserve to be in there and move forward. But the first class, you're very special because you are the first class. And there's none of you who do not deserve to be in there. So don't ever let somebody tell you that you don't deserve to be in there. The biggest thing I could have done was made the class bigger. But we'll keep going with 6 or 8 people probably every year. The only thing I could have done was make the class bigger and let other people in, because I wouldn't take anybody out that we have right now for anybody else. So thank you very much. I do have a plan. I'm a mad scientist sometimes, but we're going to do a lot of good things here at UOG, and we will keep trying. Thank you very much. I guess I need to tell you what you're doing next. All right, Jonas is going to come back up. He is going to read your bios. As he's reading your bios, you can come next to the stage and get ready to come up and speak. Basically, you got about 10 minutes. Most of you swear you can't talk for 10 minutes, but I know a politician probably can talk for 10 minutes. All right, so I have never seen at any Hall of Fame where somebody didn't get on a tangent and started recognizing so many people that they go long. But please tell a good story or a couple of good stories, as Dr. Underwood was saying. But if you got a bad story that's funny, that's okay too. But Jonas, like I said, is going to come up. He's going to read your bio, read your name, read your bio. Come on up, do your 10-minute speech or whatever. And you don't have to stay 10 minutes, but you just get out whatever you need to get out. I will come back over when this is done and tell you how the halftime event is going to be done, and then this event will be over with at that point. Have a good time talking. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, first of all, I'd like to introduce Mr. John Borden. Played football here at the University of Guam from 1974 to 1978 and earned a bachelor's in secondary education. He is a 4-time All-Island wide receiver from 75 to 1978 all-time leader in catches, yardage, and touchdowns, 1975 and 1979. In 75 and 78, he's a two-time Football League champion. In 1980, he was the UOG retired his jersey, number 83, which I think we should be hanging from the rafters. That is a good spot. In 1980, he was named the Pacific Daily News' Athlete of the Year. In 1990, featured on the cover of Papa Magazine of Guam. I think that there's some copies on the tables there. And in 2011, voted number 7 of the top 10 football players of all time here in Guam. In 2012, he was named Sports Legend of Micronesia. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. John Ward.
Graduate in 1980. UOG. I hate to say this, I'm not the only graduate from the football team. But I didn't say that. Now, if you would have told me when I was 17 years old, being a military dependent, graduated from high school in the mainland, and arriving in Guam in August of 1973, that I would be standing here today, being inducted to the Hall of Fame, I'd say you're out of your mind. No way that would ever happen. But here I am. And I'm glad I am. There are just so many people to thank. First of all, Mom and Dad for letting me stay. We were scheduled to leave in the summer of '75. I was playing football my first year in 1974, and I had so much fun. I was going to class, had a blast. Then Mom and Dad told me, oh, we're leaving in June of '75. Can I stay one more year? Oh, we'll talk about it later. And we'll talk about it later. And we'll talk about it later. Finally, the time came. They had their concerns, but they let me stay. Thank goodness they did. To my beautiful wife, Susie, for 36 years we've been married, she never saw me play football. Never saw me play. However, all my ex-teammates, people who see me play, would always talk to her about my playing ability. She would stand there politely to listen, and smile. And then after the conversation, she'd say, I never saw her play. Okay, moving on. However, she did inspire me. After the 1977 season, I was considering going back to the mainland in the summer of '78. But something happened, something fantastic happened. I met Susie. Now, Susie was a scholar athlete at JFK. She graduated and then she received a scholarship to attend the University of Santa Tomas in the Philippines. And she was a star there. It's obvious that I didn't leave. I decided to stick around a little bit longer. We got married in '81, June of '81. We had 2 handsome boys, Robert and Richard. We had 2 beautiful granddaughters, Lily and Violet, and 1 handsome grandson, Matthew. Man, I'm glad I stayed and stuck around. Now to thank all my coaches. Rob Hall, 1974, 75 and 77. He led us to 2 championships in '75 and an undefeated season in 1977. Coach tonight, he coached in '76, and Sidney Trail coaches in '78. To Mr. Cadigan, who at that time was the athletic director and our defensive coordinator. He was the one who instrumental in having me to decide to take a degree in education. I graduated in 1980, and for the next 36 years I would teach PE at GW High School. Now to all of my great teammates. Now some of you might remember some of these names, and for heaven's sakes, some are grandfathers now, and even great-grandfathers. Without them, without their hard work, their sacrifice, their preparation and dedication, I wouldn't be here today. You can't play football with one guy. You gotta have a team, and that's how it works. Okay, these great names you're gonna hear now. Benny Diaz, Terry Brooks, Mark Wesley, Amy Callagay, the late Randy Middleton, Gloria Cruz, Jerry Tion, Rocky Road, Eli Sassuas, Paul Rydell, J.F.D. Knight, Ray Baza, the late Vinny Cariaso, the late Joe Moppes, Tony Roberto, Willie Brennan, Tony and Joe Nagata, Fred Bama, the late Joe Cowboy, Andy St. Nicholas, Lawrence Hernandez, Carl Gumatauta, and the crazy Art Ramon. I always said he had scary eyes. The guy scared the crap out of me. And he's on my team. So you can imagine what it's like with the other team. And I think Art should be the next guy inducted to the Hall of Fame. And Ron, I didn't think about you. Relax. Now here's my story for you. In 1976, we had a place kicker. His name was Father Gillespie. And yes, he was a priest out of St. Anthony in Timoni. His job was to kick the ball. My job was to make sure that I hold the ball for him. He kicks it through the uprights and we get a score. Now he was always a little bit afraid. He kind of reminded me of what's that guy in water? Football player? Bobby Boucher. He had that helmet. He didn't look like he was in the right place. I felt really bad for him. He always asked me, are those guys going to hurt me? I said, and I couldn't lie to him. You can't lie to a priest. I said, Father, yes, they're going to try to hurt you, but we're going to try to protect you. Okay? So there's one game, he came out, he was all nervous. I said, Father, just remember now, if the ball should go over my head, you have to go chase it and fall on it. He said, well, those guys trying to hurt me. Yes, Father, they're going to try to hurt you. Now, this one game, the ball went over my head, and his job was to go get it and fall on it. But he didn't do that. The ball went over my head, I looked at it, he went, I said, Father, dang it, go get it. Blank it, go get it. He didn't do it. I had to go get it, I had to knock him out of the way. I went and got it, I picked it up, and I threw the ball to the end zone, and Art Ramon caught the ball. And we were so excited, we got a 2-point conversion, then it dawned on me, oh my God, I just cussed at a priest. I'm going to hell. So I ran back to the sideline, I found Father Gillespie. I said, Father, man, I'm really sorry that I cussed at you. That's okay, my son, it's okay. So I'm not going to go to hell? Well, you take 5 All Fathers and 5 Hail Marys, and you should be okay. To my offensive teammates, we were so graceful in our offense. We had a potent and balanced roll attack on offense, on the offensive side of the ball, receivers, and runners. Great linemen, you had to do all the dirty work, all the heavy lifting. Because of your hard work, it made my job and other receivers a lot easier to block and catch the pass. Great linemen like Brian Westling, the late Chris Grapp, Big Lee Willis, Chris Mesa, the late Dave Bean, Jimmy Nahalawa, Ray Ahuna, Bob Artero, Cowboy, Leon Guerrero, and Joe Camacho. Ron, I didn't forget, relax. To the great running backs, led by the late Lawrence Johnson, Chris Mesa, the late Stu Limehouse, Adolph Tangi, Patrick Leon Guerrero, Albie Drive, Ivan Saroma, and Vince Diaz. And also, Art was also a running back. Ramon, the guy still cared to scare the crap out of me. With all these great running ability, the opposing defense had to be honest, and I was able to get open a lot easier because of that. To my fellow receivers, Sammy Tayu, George Hernandez, Steve Cruz, Albie Drive, Mike Livingston, Chris Mesa, Francis De Leon, and Burnell. And of course, who's going to throw me the ball? My quarterbacks. I had some 5 good, decent quarterbacks. Art Merlin, George Hernandez, Tom Kyle, Eddie Rages, Bill Sharoma, and Ivan Sharoma. Because of these guys threw the ball to me so well, I was able to catch the ball 94 times, over 2,000 yards, and score 25 touchdowns. Without their ability, I would not be here. Okay, Ron, now it's your turn. Now remember, I asked you for $20 when I said these nice things about you. I want the $20 bill, okay? Now Ron has always been a good friend of ours. Ever since I met him back in 1974. He was the best man at our wedding. He's here because of his great ability to play defense. He was All-Island on defense as a nose guard. And that's not easy to do at nose guard. Also, he's All-Island as an offensive lineman. He played guard on both sides of the ball. He never left the field. It's been a great honor to be selected. It only took 40 years, and I'm glad I'm here finally. We made it. We made it. I was always wondering if this was ever going to happen, and when I got the phone call, I was extremely happy. I told Susie, guess what? I got a call from UOG. I'll be in the Hall of Fame. She goes, oh, that's nice. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Borden. Our next athlete to be inducted is Susan Retchivong Lapola, who played women's basketball here at the University of Guam. Now, she traveled all over the world representing Guam in a variety of sports. In 1991, she was in the World Student Games in Sheffield, England. She represented the Guam national team in the South Pacific Games in 91, 94, 95, 99, and 2003. She was in the World Masters Games in 2009 for women's soccer, 2011 and 15 through 17, 2011 for women's basketball, 2015 through 17 for women's softball. She's a current basketball official, Various Sports Official Association, Guam Basketball Confederation of Officials, IIAABO certified official, FIBA certified, and also she was a basketball coach in the 2005 Mini South Pacific Games. She's also a FIBA certified coach for the Jigo Jokers Club. So please welcome to the stage Susan Retchivong Lapola.
Thank you, Jonas. This is a great honor, and I'm so happy to be here and be in the same class as this first class here. You guys are great, and I know many of you. Most of you, sorry, a couple of you I don't, but I'm going to hear all about you today, and I am eager to do so. My fellow team player here is Therese Son. We've been playing for years. Her guest also, Miss Vicky Tyson. I've known you guys for so long. We've been playing sports through our college years, and it's just been incredible. I did want to talk about a little bit of background for myself. Sports has always been a part of my life. Growing up, since I was young, my father was they called him a speed demon. This is Patrick Wolf. And I think it went to his kids because we just loved the sport as well. And we didn't stop there. It was not one sport. It happened to be a couple of more other sports. And I'm blessed to be able to play them well. And thank you for allowing me to be in this Hall of Fame because of those abilities. I appreciate that. And I think I have to thank my mom and my dad because they had those genes. And I was hoping I wouldn't get emotional because she's been the support of my life. I lost my father in '97, and I just wanted to, I wish he was here to see this. And just a great support network, I'm sorry. And recently I lost my husband also, 2014 to cancer. And once again, she was there for us. And my beautiful friends right here, the Bombas and the St. Nicholases. So I wanted to say what a wonderful support system they were as well. And it's about that support network, teams that you make throughout your career. And for my softball team, for my basketball team, for my soccer team, I joined all those sports in college. Nothing stopped me because I think when my youngest brother was born, his name is Reggie Retchivong, we couldn't play sports our first year and our freshman year because we had to help babysit him at home. And so it was like, gosh, you little kid, you're really, you're stopping our momentum. But after that, then we were just, sophomore, junior, senior, we did it all. I have a twin sister, and she's also very athletically inclined. Our whole family is, and she's not here. She's staying in California right now. But one funny story I wanted to share about her was, it was our senior year at Samuel Sanchez High School. Our senior year here, Samuel Sanchez, we just won the softball tournament. Actually, it was we won second place. And what happened was the AD, her name is Miss Allenbaugh, rest her soul. She passed away recently as well. But the softball game, and Susie was the pitcher, and I was playing second, and I have a younger sister playing shortstop. Catcher. So we had all three of us. And she says, she asked me, Miss Allenbaugh, who's our athletic director and coach, she says, who do you think is going to be the MVP? And I was like, it should definitely have been my sister. And then I was selfish. I said, no, I think I deserve it too. I told her, make her be offensive MVP and make me be defensive of MVP. And she said, okay. And I said, oh my gosh, thank goodness. But in actuality, I felt that my twin sister was the one who should have taken that award. But going back to our UOG Fieldhouse, UOG days, just having the program available for all of the athletes was a wonderful opportunity. Taking advantage of just coming out to play with the team, meeting all these teammates, but also there was money in it. We had scholarship programs. And that also helped us immensely, especially I'm a Pell Grant recipient, and my mother and father worked hard to help support our education, and they definitely did not want us to stop there. So we did our best to do good in school and take advantage of the other opportunities, and those were the sports program. The sports soccer, sports softball, and sports basketball, those were the ones that I was involved with back then. And like he said, like Jonas mentioned, and that there were some dark days. And I'm so glad to see that it's been revived again, that it's coming back, and that the accomplishments that these current teams are having right now is just music to my ears. And not only that, I don't know if you've seen this gym, but it's got a new facelift as well. It's beautiful, it's amazing. The weight room in there, it did not look like this, a little while back. And so this is such a great thing for all of our athletes that I wanted to mention. The other thing I wanted to say about our University of Guam Fieldhouse is in general, University of Guam, is I also used to work here at the Student Life Office under Joan Payne Swaddell. I don't know if you remember her, but she's an amazing employer. I worked with her as a student aide and work-study program, and just learning the inside ropes of how our university ran and helped students. Student Life Officer, she helped take care of all the students. Who went to school. She was head of the National Student Exchange Program. So we had students coming in, students going out, tourists coming in to take a look at our university and giving them tours. There's just a lot of things happening, and she taught me how to look outside of the box is basically what it was. She had some ideas that were great. One idea was lighting up the RFK library lawn. I don't know if you ever remember that. These were in the mid-90s. And I had to help light up the trees by climbing the trees and putting them up, and our electrical team, the maintenance, put up the electrical outlets. And I remember getting stung by like 7 bees before running away for shelter. But what I remember most is her teaching us how to think outside the box, coming up with some amazing ideas for the students. And I hope that, and I believe that you might also still have a student life officer now who's doing the same thing and trying to promote all the programs for all of our students, and to let this be a desirable place for them to go to. Maybe if they don't have a program here, like for me, I have a son, he's 18, he's attending college at Florida. It's the Aviation Institute of Maintenance for aircraft mechanic. And if we had that here, he would be here going to school. I'm definitely an advocate for that. So going back to the women's program, I did want to share University at Games in '91. That was our first ever. Our coach, Mr. Robert Santos, Dr. Robert Santos, he, I think, was ahead of his time, but he brought that program here from the University of Texas. And what it was we had 2 practices a day for our women's program. In the morning, before the sun rose, and then in the evening. And the things that he taught us is what we're carrying on through life to this day. And I believe that we're going to meet all sorts of coaches in our lives, and they're going to teach us all kinds of different things. And it's our responsibility as an athlete to try and learn from that and pass it on. Maybe be contributing citizens of this island. I love this island. I love this community. I love this university. And I'm so proud to call it home. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for everybody for being here. I see a lot of familiar faces and some not, but it's good to see you, and I will meet all of you tonight. And thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much for that. I'd also like to recognize the president of the Student Government Association, Ms. Annie Camacho. The Student Government Association is a big supporter of Triton Athletics. In fact, they sponsored our big Triton night that we had just last Wednesday, where we actually had just about 500 people here watch the UOG Tritons defeat the MacTech Nerds by almost 50 points. So, our next inductee is the Honorable Tommy Morrison. He's a senator in the 34th Guam legislature. He played baseball here at the University of Guam and earned a bachelor's in political science. In 1993, represented Guam in the Far East Games as a basketball player, as our center. And then he's also a member of the Guam national baseball team that won a gold medal in SPG, a silver medal in the Oceania Games, played in the Micronesian Games, and the mini South Pacific Games, also won a gold medal. Also played in the Guam Major League for the Continental Jets as a pitcher, for the UOG Tritons also as a pitcher, and the Pepsi Giants as well as a pitcher. And he also played in the Guam Miller Football League as a Pepsi Giants quarterback. So please welcome to the stage the Honorable Tommy Morrison.
Thank you, President Underwood, Mr. Doug Palmer, and to the UOG family here, to all those who are joining us today, fellow Tritons. It's wonderful to share this opportunity or this honor with family and friends. And this Hall of Fame, this is amazing that this has come about. I can only envision this 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, being able to walk in there with others that will come along the way and share their story. Sidus Masi for wanting to give special recognition for those Tritons who pursued their college studies while representing UOG in various sports, including baseball, Guam's favorite pastime. Baseball was my classroom away from the classroom, which began at home at a very young age, and later at the small and only baseball field in the village of Umatic. With a baseball glove and a father and older brothers who also loved the game, enjoyed it so much that they would force me out and take a drive down or take a bike ride down to the baseball field. We were spending most of our days or after school at the field. We also became good at pasturing cattle in that field because people always wondered why we would spend about an hour before practice because we will all be moving the cows and the carabaos off the baseball field. So it was really not only a field of dreams for ball players, but a lot of us always had to share the field with our relatives who also use it for farming. As an athlete through my high school and college years, engaging in various sports, particularly baseball, helped me to form new friendships, develop a sense of individual and community pride, and strengthen my appreciation for the values of hard work, self-discipline, and teamwork. Many of the guys I played baseball with at UOG were childhood friends. Derek Santos can go around the horn, Ken Fernandez, Dominic Cruz, Joe Tiqueros, Rico Castro, Del Alvarez, BJ Balaja. President Underwood, Mr. Palmer, I can say that I think 80% of those student athletes did graduate from the University of Guam. I also like to recognize during that time University of Tritons, and I just could, I'm not sure where he's at today, but Coach Salas, Coach Nick Bora, who led back-to-back championships in the Guam Major League. And those guys just knew how to keep us together. A rowdy bunch of boys that had so much talent, but certainly needed a manager that can keep us in line and make sure that we all showed up to practice and ensure that we did the work. So I thank them very much for leading that effort. I'm so proud of what our experiences at UOG and through countless games we played, both on Guam and at major competitions abroad. We spent that team, those names that I mentioned, and some of the tournaments that I played in, the list that were mentioned from the Micronesian Games, for over 15 or 20 years. Those same childhood friends that we grew up together, as we became Tritons, we also represented Guam at the national level. And for almost 2 decades, we spent that whole time just together traveling the world representing Guam. We can't count all the gold medals we brought back, but we sure represented Guam really well. There's even a point in time where, and that was not mentioned in the bio, that we were just a couple of games away from representing Guam in its first Olympics. And we were just knocking out teams left to right and beating a very powerful team in the Oceanic, the American Samoans, and really brought athletes from the mainland that were AA, some were even AAA, professional athletes. And it was really a David and Goliath story because they really were giants with tremendous talent. And Coach Rob Dirksen made it possible by changing the whole game plan and how we were approaching these giants on the field that had tremendous talent and used what we had, the tools that we had, the fundamentals that we had to play with, and a lot of speed. So that was a time, it was so close, that a couple of games from getting to the Olympics. Our time together on the field, through strong support of UOG and our business sponsors, helped us to become the husbands, fathers, principals, teachers, managers, law enforcement agents, and yes, the senator we are today. My time on the baseball field throughout the years have definitely influenced my work in the Guam legislature, which includes dedicated funding sources to repair maintenance and community recreation facilities, support for youth programs throughout our villages, making sure that our kids and the youth, especially in our communities that are isolated, to support them with team sponsorships, ensure that they have a uniform on their bags and some equipment that they can play with. And also creating the culture and sports ambassador program that now is a grant program that we work very closely with the Guam Visitors Bureau to ensure that we can support our athletes. I think a lot of these athletes here who are members and former members of the Guam national teams representing Guam know the challenge of focusing, having the laser focus to prepare themselves for these national events, know the challenges of also raising funds, raising revenue to get to our destination. And it was always a challenge because we spent more of our time at times to raise our revenue and instead of preparing ourselves on the field for these major tournaments. And it's nice to see that the Sports Ambassador program is working really well and the demand is there. And I hope that the University of Guam will work with the Guam Visitors Bureau and ensure that the athletes here in the program that are being rebuilt, especially these Tritons that are representing Guam at the national level, will ensure that they have this program to support them with either travel expenses or whatever resources they may need to represent Guam. Moving forward, I hope that the university, the new Sports Hall of Fame program will help to inspire a new generation of student athletes at the college level, who will in turn do their small part to encourage middle and high school students and our young children to consider pursuing a college education while not having to give up their passion for baseball, football, basketball, or any other sport they enjoy. Who knows, they may end up representing Guam at the national level. We all know that there is opportunity where our athletes have now represented us at the professional level. And I hope that the university who building this program would inspire these young athletes to attain a higher level. President Underwood, Doug Palmer, I appreciate this opportunity. The family here at UOG, if there's anything that I will do to help harness and grow this program and ensure whatever time I have left in the legislature, I assure our budget meetings will definitely be different. Our discussions will be different and whatever, how we can help. But certainly I appreciate to be here with not only wonderful athletes of the past and learning, sharing their stories and some of the names I was recognizing, and thank you for sharing that, and also hoping that in the future that I can participate in future events like this and to see and hear their stories and how I can help grow the University of Guam sports program. There is a lot of talent here in Guam that, for example, myself, that I certainly wasn't looking or inspiring to attain my higher education at University of Guam. But when Coach Shalas came and said, hey, I think they're offering a sports scholarship program. I was already playing for the Continental Jets. I was just fresh out of Ocean View High School. We won 4 straight championships there, and there was so much excitement. I just felt like it was, I don't know, I just felt like when he came out and reached out to come play for the University of Guam and offer this, it was a turning point in my life to attend the University of Guam. The sports scholarship program was very, very helpful. It got me started, got my feet wet in the university, and I never stopped there. So I hope that program would revive one day, come back, and ensure that these athletes may look at that opportunity for that program to get their foot in the door at the University of Guam and enjoy the sport they play while they study. So here's my beautiful wife, my son, Deji and Thomas. I'm glad they're here to see this because I keep telling them that I do play sports. I do play baseball, and I'm glad that we're having this because hopefully one day we could walk through these rooms, Hall of Fame, and really see it on the wall that yes, he did play, and he did achieve these awards. So my son is almost 3, and he still says, "You play baseball, Daddy?" I said, "Yeah, I played a little bit baseball." But I wish the University of Guam at that time had the Tritons football going at the same time. Very powerful University of Guam Tritons football, because I certainly would like to walk in those footsteps and would have been honored to walk in those footsteps and try to keep that Triton football, mighty football team going. But with that, I'm honored to be here. Be by UOG, natural choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Morrison. Also, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Frank Huggins, Senator of the 34th Guam Legislature. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Our next inductee has been a member of the University of Guam community since 1992. He's a current UOG Associate Professor and was the UOG men's soccer coach from 95 to 98. Dr. Awu Diambra Odi. He played for UOG in the early 90s, coached the UOG men's soccer team from 95 to 98, and he had distinction of coaching one of the best goalkeepers in the league and the top scorer in the league at that time. From 2000 to 2003, he coached the youth soccer club, the Dededo Soccer Club. 2001, coached at St. John's High School. 2006, coached St. John's Middle School. In 2002, he participated in the World Masters Games as a player in Melbourne, Australia. 2005, also the World Masters Games in Canada. He has an Asian Football Confederation B and C license and currently coaches he coached the Noka-Oi Soccer Club and played for the ITNE, Mobile Guam, and Noka-Oi club teams. So without further ado, Dr. Odi.
Thank you. As I reflect on my soccer evolution, I can see how someone can be biased by training, I see my soccer career as a tree with three main parts: the roots, the trunk, and the crown. The root of my soccer tree was planted in Ivory Coast, where I grew up in the mid-50s, a long time ago, kicking anything round in front of me, including coconuts and soccer balls. Back then, my life was centered on soccer, and we followed World Cup soccer matches, believe it or not, on the radio. During that time, it was the time of Pelé. In fact, he won FIFA World Cup in '58, in '62, and in 1970. We had to imagine the actions on the soccer field, from the broadcaster's ability to turn sound waves into 3D action movies. Before TV and smartphones were available, outdoor soccer was our way of life, especially during summer vacations. My first soccer shoes were the brand name Barefoot. And my soccer pitch was the dusty street of my hometown at Zope. Looking back, street soccer was an informal school where leadership skills and character were built. I arrived on Guam in 1992 as a research associate with the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. One day, riding my bicycle on the way home after work, a UOG graduate, Peter Terlahi, who told me straightforward that I look like someone who plays soccer. He then asked me if I was interested in joining his soccer team for practice somewhere in Harlem. I did not know that I was carrying a virtual soccer ball on my forehead, or on my feet, or even on my stomach. It could not have been on my stomach because it was flat in 1999. And in 2017, it looks like I'm hiding a soccer ball under my shirt. I told myself, if this guy can read my past, he could also probably predict my future. Awesome. I saw right away an opportunity to kick something around again out of nostalgia. I could not resist. My passion for soccer was once again unleashed, so I started playing soccer again. This time with 3 Scarface shoes, Adidas. I joined several teams as a player, including the Guam Masters, UOG Men's Soccer, ITNE, Mobile Guam, and Noka Oil. I also played international games at 2 World Masters competition in Melbourne, Australia in 2002, and Edmonton in 2005. I cannot imagine that I flew all these miles across continents just to kick a soccer ball. Don't ask me how it was in Australia. I would say I don't remember, because I choose not to remember all the games we lost. But you can ask me how it was in Canada. Oh, that one I remember. First of all, Team Guam had to withdraw, but Odie went anyway. Then I also remember shaking the net with a sole goal less than 1 minute before the end of the game for the Cowichan Valley soccer team from an Indian tribe of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, in Canada. As you can see, it is easier to remember the good news than choose to forget the not so good news. In addition, I was crowned honorary chief of the Cowichan after my victory goal. In the spring of 2017, this year, they won the gold medal at the World Masters game in New Zealand. I wish I were there to celebrate with them. My coaching experience started with Inarahan Middle School Girls Warriors in 1995. I remember how fascinated the girls were when they kicked the soccer ball for the first time. Soccer was not so common among students during that time. They managed to take second place in the competition of the Middle School Girls Independent Interscholastic Athletic Association of Guam. Then came the opportunity to coach the University of Guam soccer team. Finding players was like searching for diamonds. One tactic was to recruit high school students to fill our team. Another tactic was to recruit brothers. That way we could get 2 players per family, such as the Lee brothers and the Weir brothers. And the coach had to play when we could not assemble 11 players. Even with soccer scholarship, finding 11 students to play was a challenge. However, those days were memorable because we had so much fun playing and bonding together. With limited resources, we produced one of the best goalkeepers on the entire league. And we had on our team the top goal scorer. A few trophies made us feel like winning gold medals and kept us more enthusiastic and provided encouragement. Today, we are proud to have been part of molding character of now lawyers, officers in the US military, businessmen, and other professionals. In retrospective, the game was an alibi to develop physical fitness as well as to build character. I went on to coach youth soccer with the Diredo Soccer Club, St. John's High School, St. John Middle School, and Noka Oi Soccer Club. Guam Football Association provided me with valuable opportunities for growth and development, with courses and licensure with the Asian Football Confederation, C license, and later B license. I was able to participate in training workshop in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, on science and football and soccer club development. From my arrival on Guam in '92 until recently, my soccer tree developed a strong trunk and produced many branches. I'm grateful to GFA for contributing to my personal growth in soccer. So my hope was to be able to return that favor to the community here on Guam. Albert Einstein said, and I quote, "It is every man's obligation to put back into the world at least the equivalent of what he takes out of it. End of quote. I'm also grateful to all the businesses, ITNE, Mobile Guam, Noka Oil, that have provided sponsorship throughout the years to allow us continued coaching and playing. I'm grateful to all my teammates of the Guam Masters. We have few here, Cameron Saveri, Ken Maratita. Thank you for being here. I'm also thankful to UOG men's team. We have one here, Tony Mendoza. Thank you for being here. And also other teams who motivated me to become a better mentor. I'm grateful to my family who has embraced the sport by playing, coaching, and even serving as referees. And I'm especially grateful to my wife, Marcelle, for her support as a soccer mom, a soccer wife, and a soccer cheerleader. A special acknowledgement to UOG Athletic Department for giving me the opportunity to grow as a coach. And I thank President Underwood and the UOG leadership team for initiating the Hall of Fame as a new tradition. And I'm flattered to receive the crown of my soccer tree on this beautiful island that I call home. Now my soccer tree is complete. Viva UOG, Sitius Maas.
Thank you, Dr. Odi. Our next inductee is Ronald Camacho. Played football here from 1974 to 1979. The positions middle guard, defense, offensive guard, and offensive tackle. Some of his accomplishments: in 1976, he was named league MVP for defense as middle guard. He's the first UOG player to be selected as an MVP for defense. In 1976, he also made All-Island First Team Middle Guard, 77 All-Island First Team Middle Guard, 78 All-Island Second Team as Offensive Guard, 78 All-Island Second Team as an Offensive Tackle, and in 1979, All-Island First Team as an Offensive Guard. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Ronald Camacho.
Thank you. When Doug called me up and said I was selected to the Hall of Fame, I was honored. But then he told me I had to speak for 10 minutes. And I was seriously thinking not showing up. At this time, I'd like to thank the University of Guam, Doug Palmer, and all those involved in making my selection to the Hall of Fame. I didn't graduate from UOG. I registered, paid up front, and played from 1974 to 79. Rich Cadigan, at that time, was a professor here. He created a class, football appreciation, and the class was on the football field at GW. And you still had to pay, you still had to register, but I'm sorry I didn't graduate. Like John said, we both started in '74, and we had something in common. He was a military dependent. I was a military dependent. I had just gotten out of the Air Force, and him and I, we were not a product of the Guam school systems. I played football in Japan. My dad was in the Air Force, and I played football in the Department of Defense school system over there. So John and I, we were close because no one knew us. We didn't play for GW, JFK, or those other, so we got close, we were tight, because no one would talk to us. He was a Howley and military dependent. some of the players would say, why don't you go play for the military team? You know, he's living on Anderson. With me, I had a nickname. I didn't know what it was until later on. They called me Choro Coasso. Okay, I wasn't planning on coming back to Guam, but I heard that the University of Guam was competing in the military league. And I love football. And I thought my playing days were over in high school. So I came back to Guam, paid my fees, went out to practice, you know, and played from 74 to 79. And thank God that UOG had a team. In the early years, it was lean. Hardly anybody came out and watched us. We weren't winning. We weren't winning. There was more people going to the high school teams. And I remember in 74, we had to dress at the field. None of the opposing teams had visitor dressing room. So we put our gear here, half on, got to the field and dressed up there. And then when we did that, over at Naval Station, they had this long hibiscus bush right there by the end of the goal line. And some of the guys had to relieve themselves. It's a long bus ride from UOG to Naval Station. And for some reason, they picked the hibiscus bush. So you can imagine 10, 15 guys in green football uniforms relieving themselves from hibiscus bushes. Those bushes are no longer there. I don't know why they cut them down, but they're no longer there. I made many friends at the University of Guam, but John Boy was one I really appreciated. He was dedicated, because I was dedicated to sports. He used to, when he played, he used to catch the ball with one hand. And I said, John, why are you showing off? He said, why do you catch with one hand? He said, oh, just to get better, you know. And that's what he did. In the game, he didn't do that unless he had to. But he had the greatest hands I ever seen. Okay? If it was third and long, we threw it to John Boy, because he had great hands and he could jump higher than the rest of the other guys on his team. And we became close. And I had a story, but I got to continue on with Father Gillespie. John didn't tell you that Father Gillespie was an Irishman from Ireland. He had a thick Irish accent. Why Jeff the Knight wanted him to play football, I don't know. Why he chose him to be our punter, our kickoff, I don't know. He was 120 soaking wet. He didn't know how to play the sports. The first game we played at NCS, we were going to punt. The ball was snapped back to Father Gillespie. He took the ball and he went to punt and he missed the ball. The ball fell down, NCS recovered it and ran it back for a touchdown. 7-0. Second time he punted. They blocked it. And they recovered and ran it back. 14-0. And Jeff and I still kept him. I loved Father Gillespie. He had a lot of stories, you know. He just couldn't play football. You know, and it angered me because we had other guys that could kick the ball. But for some reason, Jeff knew about his soccer background, you know, and he was a great soccer, and he was part of the soccer community here at Guam. But why he coached there, I don't know. But I'd like to, at this time, thank the University of Guam for having a team. I didn't graduate, but I played my heart out. But I played my heart out, you know. And they played 74 to 79. And then UOG rewarded us in 1975 when we won our first championship by sending us to the Philippines. Chartered. Charter. Okay? So we went to play these Subic Bay Admirals and the Clark Air Base Diplomats. We beat the Diplomats. We lost to Subic Bay. And then, in 1978, the university paid for us again. They sent us to Hawaii to play a team that didn't exist. Many of you remember Sammy Caillou. He was a reporter for PDN. He was living there, and he said, they have a team here, a Marine team, that played 8-man football, but they convert to 11, and then you should come over. So we flew over there, stayed at a hotel. We found out the Marines didn't know anything about it. And here we are. UOG spent all that money, plus room and board. We didn't have a team to play. One of our former players, Albert Drive, was there, and there was used to be a semi-pro team. He got together a bunch of guys. They scrounged up some uniforms, and we ended up playing them. And they only had like maybe 1 day of practice. And most of them were big Simones. And we got to play at Aloha Stadium, an artificial turf. And that was a new thing for us. If these guys had 1 week of practice, they would have kicked our butts. But because they weren't, together, we beat them. And those were good days for me. I'll never forget them. And thank you for UOG for having a team. I wish you still had a team, I'd still be playing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Our next inductee is Teresa P. Sison. She played women's basketball here at the University of Guam in 1988 and from 2001 to 2004. She also traveled all over the world for representing Guam. She was in the Far East Championships in 1982. In Okinawa, she won the Okinawa sportsmanship team, and she was on the All-Star team. In '83, at the Far East Championships, they won the gold medal, and she was recognized as the best offensive player. In 1983, she received an award for softball and basketball. In '84, also in the Far East Championships. In '89, she played in Tahiti in the Oceanic Games in basketball. In 1990, she was in the Micronesian Games for track and field, where she won 3 gold medals, 1 silver, and 3 bronze medals. In 1991, in the Mini South Pacific Games, she represented Guam in basketball for the American Samoa. In 1998, Micronesian Games, the basketball team won the silver medal. And in 2000, she received the Masters of the Millennium from the Governor of Guam and the legislature. In 2001, in the University Games, she played basketball in Taiwan, and in SPG, playing basketball in 87, 91, 95, 99, 2003, and the team won the bronze medal in 1999. She's also competed internationally in several different tournaments, and also has served as a coach, a referee, and administrator for various associations to include FIBA, the Guam Basketball Association, Special Olympics, military leagues in our local high schools, Relay for Life, and of course, some of our many summer basketball leagues here at Guam. So please welcome to the stage, Teresa Sison.
Thank you, everyone. I'm not much of a public speaker, so I'll try to keep this really short. First, I want to thank my family, friends, coaches, teammates, co-workers, sponsors, and of course the University of Guam. I was asked to talk about my adventure playing for the university basketball team. I'll take you to a time where we went to Taiwan, Taipei. Of course, their team, they had 6-foot-tall women playing against our 5'6" average women in our team. Of course, they outscored us. But the one thing I can tell you is that we came back with the cultural experience and the knowledge that what it takes to compete at that level. The thing about sports, fitness, and education. It has its accomplishments and sorrows. These three things, these three things in this general area teach you to survive change you didn't ask for. Life certainly is constantly changing. And it's going to continue to change. So let's take these three things and use this through its rippling effects in these areas to kind of move us forward into the future. Thank you very much for this honor. Yeah, have a good day today.
Once again, I want to thank you all for attending the reception here for our Hall of Fame inductees, our first ever class of 2017. Closing us out, I'd like to call the president once again to the stage.
I don't often preempt the program, but Doug will be up here. But I just wanted to relay how wonderful these stories are. I mean, because they really speak to the essence not only of competitive sports and the connection to institutions and the connection to the island, but, you know, as I heard all the names and as I heard all the people, you know, like when John was talking about Art Merlin was my student. I was teaching at GW, and the Wessling brothers and all, you know, it's just on and on and on. And it's like you just have that whole connection with people and with time and space and that intersection through sports. And so just on the Guam Olympic baseball team, I think his name was Garrett Santos, right? He was in the Army. And so what they were, you know, in the you're in the military, they relieve you of your duties in order to participate in an Olympic team. Well, he wasn't participating in the U.S. Olympic team. He was participating in the Guam Olympic team. But after I had like 2 or 3 conversations, I finally talked to the Secretary of the Army, and I talked him into relieving him of his duty so he could participate in the Guam Olympic team. And then the Guam Olympic team gave me a baseball with all their signatures on it, and I didn't really, you know, there were 2 baseballs, so I kept one, and I didn't really know what to do with the other one. So I gave it to President Bush, and because he's a big baseball fan. Yeah, doesn't root for the Dodgers like me, but you know. In any event, he took the baseball, and he wrote me a nice letter, and we talked a little bit about it. And he assured me, he goes, "This is going to go into my presidential library when I cease being president. So, you know, Tommy, I want you to go over there and look for your signature."